Hey, 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 this is Seagrove, and hopefully you just saw my new intro. Tell me what you think about it. The bass is too loud, it's cheesy, the video's weird, whatever. Just let me know what you think about it, and I'll try and tweak it as we go. But we are here for the best videos on the channel with some of the best players in the world. This is the meta forecast for London, looking at breakthrough through Crimson Invasion. So we'll start with some introductions. Phinnegan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Hey, I've been playing for like 7 years.
Solid. You cut out there. So you've been playing for 7 years.
Oh yeah, and then competitively for like about since 2014. I'm kind of known because I build a lot of decks and I get a lot of top 32s, and I own Cutter Tap.
Cool. I get 0 top 32s, so that's better than me. Allred, go ahead.
Hey, I'm Ryan Allred. I've been playing for about 3 years. I'm on Team PPG with Phinnegan. Shout out to Ultra Pro. Dude, I forget every time. This has kind of been my breakout season. Number 7 in North America right now, so hopefully that can stick through after London. We'll see.
Okay. I think I'm 237, so pretty close. All right, Rahul, go ahead.
Hey guys, it's Rahul. I've been playing for about 7 years as well. This is my 4th competitive year. I've always played just enough to get my invite, or like just enough to miss because of school, parents, whatever. And last year I had a breakout season because college, I have money and I just did what I wanted. And this year I'm trying to do the same, and I'm currently barely outside of top 16, I think, when Caleb's points go up. So I'm hoping to do a big finish in London and try not to lose another win in.
Okay. And Tord?
Hey, my name is Tord. I'm okay, I guess. I've been playing for 12 years, and last year was the year I really started competing abroad, and went to 3 of the internationals, made day 2 at all of them, made top 4 at London, won the North American one, been qualified to Worlds since 2008, so that's 9 Worlds invites. I'm trying to play as much as I can. This is my last year of school, so yeah, I will hopefully get to play a lot more later.
All right, sounds decent. I like that hood. It's like Dark Tord of the Sith. Okay.
I'm in Norway, and it's really late, and it's also starting to get winter, so it's actually pretty cold now.
Well, thank you for staying up to do this with us. So this is for London. We're gonna start with Tord giving us the scoop on Europe. Since you know every player in Europe, since you're from Europe, can you tell us what are some decks that you see in Europe that you don't always see in North America?
I think that's expecting a bit too much, honestly.
I do too.
I think the metagame isn't that different from Europe and North America. People usually just play the good meta decks, right? I think Europeans favor more streamlined decks.
Okay.
As of lately, at least. In the earlier years, I always thought that the Europeans were the crazy ones which teched every single thing into the deck, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like this super inconsistent pile of shit they piloted, and sometimes did well with, and everyone was like, wow. But now I feel like the Americans are more tech heavy, who really wants an out for everything, while Europeans just go really simplistic decks and try their best with that.
Okay.
So yeah, for meta forecast, I think we can expect a lot of Garb Dramp, a lot of Gardevoir, and a lot of Zoroark variants.
Okay. Well, that sounds pretty similar to what we'd expect. So no, we're not going to see any Rainbow Road. Xerneas Break or Greninja or anything. Well, Greninja. We'll talk about that, but
I hate Greninja as always, but you will probably see it because someone will try their luck and just hope to not brick and hope to not face bad matchups, hope to not face Giratina promos, and just they're going to try their luck and see if they're going to go through with it.
Okay, well, obviously that was a bit facetious to ask that of you. I was being facetious. But anyways, let's talk about Greninja. So, what do you guys think about Greninja? Oh, 2 thumbs up, 2 thumbs down. All right, let's get some disagreements going on here. Rahul, why is it good?
I've always liked Greninja as a deck just because of it's one of those decks where it's like I talked to you guys before the call too, that if it's not a 50-50 deck. It's literally just you either win or you lose deck. And like you lose because you don't set up or because they have Tina promo. It's very simple. But if you win, the matchups you win, you just like dumpster. Like you're down 3 prizes sometimes, and they're like, oh, the game could look scary. Then you just start chaining one of your 4 ends, and you just like have Greninja breaks that are like virtually impossible to knock out, and you just barrel through somebody. And like the way Xiao Xiao has his list built is actually very smart, and I like his list a lot. I've been playing with it a little bit, and I think moving into London, people are gonna either take that deck and make a couple variations to it with like tech cards. Like some people might not like the Espeon, some people might not like the, I guess, enhanced hammers. I don't know, and just that's the list I think we're gonna see, and that list is very good.
Yeah. Finnegan, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's the only deck out there right now that has a favorable Garbodor and favorable Gardevoir matchup, and I think that's huge. I think that, I mean, even if the deck is less consistent than some of the other options, that's still such a powerful trait to have that I think it's worth considering. And I think there's ways to make it more consistent too, like higher Lily counts, which is, I guess, something I'm kind of known for now. But yeah, just like more draw cards, focusing a little bit less on text. The deck, like with Xiao Xiao's list, had a lot of text still. Like you had, double enhanced hammer, Espeon, Tapu Fini. Like there was several tech cards, so there's definitely room for more consistency cards if you're having that problem with the deck. So yeah, I think it's pretty good. I think I might be a little bit biased too because I just lost a cup on Sunday to Greninja in finals, but I think it's pretty good.
Okay, and Tord, you already said that you don't like it because it's inconsistent. And I'll come back and see if you want to add anything to that. But Allred, what do you dislike about it?
I don't like that it has a 1-card counter. And I get like you can still win if you play Giratina promo, but it's just you're really banking on like literally what 60 cards your opponents are playing. Not even just like the matchup, but whether they said "fuck you, I don't want to lose to Greninja."
Yeah. Tord, do you have anything else you want to add?
I don't see why anyone would play a deck that not only loses to itself, but can actually lose against highly played cards like Golisopod and people who don't want to lose against it, like just adding a Giratina promo. And adding a Giratina promo is super easy in Zoroark decks because you can discard it for free anyway. So you're just adding a free win, right? If you face a Greninja, you're like, yeah, boy, get smacked. But so I know if I play a Zoroark deck, I will definitely just throw in a Giratina and be like, boom, go away.
That's awesome. So I actually wanted to chime in here. Oh, sorry, did you have something else, Tord?
No, it's fine.
Okay, I actually wanted to chime in here, and 2 things, one on each side. Number one, I was mentioning before the call, I think Greninja actually benefits from not having VS Seeker in the format because VS Seeker is such a powerful card. It wanted to play it, but it gave it dead hands early. And then you also lose, like you guys were saying, Ace Trainer and teammates. So you have like a smaller chance of dead drawing early, which is by losing these consistency cards that are just effective later in the game. And then the other thing I wanted to say, Rahul, actually wanted to disagree with something you said. You said it's either you win or you lose, and that's not true because you tie a lot with Greninja. I think that you could tie a lot with that deck, and that's one thing that that can keep people away from it as well.
That's fair.
Yeah. So Cool. I think we can stop talking about Greninja because I hate that deck. But let's go to Gardevoir. Gardevoir was it dominated the meta. It absolutely it and Drampa really just said we're the best. Can you do anything about it? And the answer was basically no. So people have said Crimson Invasion isn't going to change much. Gardevoir is still going to dominate, and Drampa-Garb is still going to dominate. Do you guys agree that those are still going to dominate? And if so, will it be to the same level, or will Crimson Invasion and Shining Legends mix things up? Ryan, why don't you start this one?
Yeah, I think they're both going to lose some place in the meta, just because kind of Zoroark's going to be what kind of throws a wrench in it. So Zoroark's really good against Garbodor. It doesn't really do much against Gardevoir, but we do also get Shining Jirachi, which is nice against Gardy, and Kartana can be good too. So if we see Kartana, there's not a lot new, but there's a couple tools that don't help Gardy. So I think they're both going to lose a little bit of their place, which they had like the entire meta. That's not a lot.
Right. Rahul, what are your thoughts?
My initial impressions, I guess, would have to be that Drampa-Garb does lose some footing. It's still like probably one of the better decks to be played going into London, but it does lose some footing because I think Zoroark is just an easy answer to it now, and it brings back now that I think Zoroark is very good now just because you can play both Zoroarks, and the basic Zoroark or like the non-GX one is very, very good against Drampa-Garb.
Oh, okay.
And just because it hits the numbers, you don't have to do much just to get those one shots. So Drampa-Garb is going to lose some footing, but on the same token, it gains Shining Jirachi, like Ryan said, and you get Latios if you choose to play that. So it's two very good tools to do. I personally don't like Latios, but I like the Jirachi a lot. Okay. And then Gardy doesn't lose anything, but it also just has a one card answer to a lot of the new cards coming out. Like Buzzwole is one of the more talked about cards. Spread decks are more talked about now. You just put a Mr. Mime in your deck. You have a one card answer to the format, and there's a near, I guess, what people are calling the optimal Gardy list right now, and the list has proven itself time and time again, and it hasn't changed in a month and a half. So I don't think Gardy's going to leave, and I think it's going to be close to a third of our a fourth to a third of our meta moving into London.
Okay, you brought up a lot of things I want to talk about, but Tord, he said Drampa loses its footing. What do you think about that? Is those fighting words?
It's absolutely true. If you play the same Drampa-Garb as I played in Bremen, the put down Espeon build people have started to go after, I think you will get smashed by nearly every Zoroark variant you face. So you can't play the same one and expect to beat Zoroark every time.
I feel like there's a butt coming on.
I think you can change it up. I haven't figured out how yet, but I will try something. I still think Gardevoir is the best deck in the format. Okay. Ever since Gardevoir was printed, I thought it was the best deck. But it's a stage 2 deck, so it holds a lot of variance, meaning I don't think you can successfully skill your way out of every game with it. I think your skill is throwing rare candies and energies. So it's still not a deck I want to play, even though I think it's the best deck.
Okay. Well, maybe Love will find a way and you can make Drampa-Garb work. If anyone can do it, Torque can do it. So, Phinnegan, no. I saw you shaking your head earlier. What do you think about Drampa-Garb and Gardevoir?
I think I was just shaking my head at Latios. I don't really like Latios in the deck, but yeah, I think it definitely does lose its footing, like they were saying. I think Buzzwole is very significant. I think some people aren't giving that enough attention right now. Zoroark is great, but Buzzwole's hitting it for weakness, and you still have strong energy. You have Fury Belt so that you can donk Rowd's turn 1, and I'm not sure because I haven't tested the matchup enough on my own, but I feel like Buzzwole is still going to be able to deal with Gardevoir even when they have the Mime. So, and if they're running the Garbodor variant, which I think a lot of people are doing right now, is running Buzzwole Garb, that you're not going to have to deal with that problem either. You're going to have a really hard time against Drampa-Garb though, because everything in your deck gets hit for weakness. But I think Gardevoir is still going to be really big. Zoroark is going to pop up. A lot of different Zoroark variants. I feel like you can play a lot of different Buzzwole variants too. Pretty much what they said, yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk Buzzwole. You mentioned Garbodor. Is that the ideal partner? People have done bats. What do you like with Buzzwole?
I think bats aren't good. I wouldn't do that, but I like it with Decidueye. I posted an article on the Cutter Tap like last week.
Right.
Decidueye as well. Yeah, and I think it works pretty darn well. Like, you don't have to set up very many Decidueye too. I set up like 1 to 2 a game usually, and that extra damage is really nice because you can Feather Arrow Mr. Mime if they put that down. So you have an out to that. It just demolishes Gardevoir. Like, if they don't run Mr. Mime, there's like no chance they're going to win that. The Gardevoir matchup should be. I need to test it more, but I should have some answers because I have like a Zygarde, and 3 blowers, and a way to use Decidueye's GX attack to recover those. So yeah, I like the Decidueye variant, but I think there's definitely a couple different ways to play it. I've heard of people putting it with Zoroark. I'm not sure how good that's going to be. But yeah, so far Decidueye is my favorite.
Okay. Does anyone else have a Buzzwole opinion or best partner?
I guess I'll chime in slightly. I have been kind of working on a list. I don't know how good it is yet, but I just like the straight with max elixirs, like heavy Regirock, have like Zygardes, just a fighting toolbox type deck. I'm not entirely sold on the Drampa-Garbodor matchup yet. My current answer is just to play it slower, but I don't know how slow you can afford to play. Mm-hmm. Because you give Drampa-Garb too much time, and then their board is suddenly set up, and you're in a bad spot. You go too fast, Garbodor starts one-shotting you turn 2. But I think if they don't if Guardy doesn't play Mime, you smash that. You have the ability to put out a ton of damage just on turn 1 with just Regirocks and Brooklets and just stuff like that. So it's just a work in progress, but I think it's something that I'm going to work on, but not discard the thought of entirely.
Okay. Anyone else have a thought on Buzzwole? All right. So from there, let's talk Ninetales Zoroark that's been popping up and doing well at League Cups. Tord, have you tested Ninetales Zoroark, and what do you think about it?
I think I tested nearly every Zoroark variant, but I've not tested Ninetales. I know. Ninetales seems weird. I don't see how it beat Gardevoir, but all my Gardevoir lists are running Mime, so that might be why. So you can't set up the damage with Coco, and then the first Gardevoir just smacks 4 prices, and then you're out of the game. So, nah, I know.
Okay.
But it's obviously good since it's won so much, but I think people should start putting Mime in their decks for real. So
yeah,
that's all I have to say about that.
Okay, Ryan, what do you think?
I've been playing around with Zoroark Decidueye a little bit, which I think is pretty cool. Zoroark, I just don't like Ninetales, man. Every time I've tried to play it, I just don't get how it wins. Ice Path is cool, but I don't see the game, it wins, obviously, but yeah. I don't see it as immediately. Okay.
Does anyone like Zoroark-Ninetales? All right, let's hear it, Rahul. What do you think about Zoroark-Ninetales?
So when Jose built the deck, we were talking about the deck a lot before, and I because he was like, what's Zoroark's immediate partner? I want to play Zoroark this weekend at Cups. And I was like, I guess Golisopod's your most obvious answer. And then I was like, but I really like it with Ninetales. You just take out the Octillery, you have another attacker, blah, blah, blah. It makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
And so when we put it together, I didn't think about the heavy Kukui build, but that's what Jose added to the list. And with the heavy Kukui build, you hit those numbers when you need to, and it kind of fills in for a weakness of the deck. Granted, it's still a very I need to hit this card when I need it kind of thing, but you have Zoroarks on the bench now that you can trade and draw into the cards.
Right.
But again, the deck just cannot beat Mime, I don't think. I think Mime just absolutely bodies you. Unless you somehow find because like even if you kill the mime, you're dedicating a turn to killing mime, and if they have stretcher, they just bring it back. And you're just like, well, I just put so much resources into killing a mime that they brought back, and it's one prize. But other than that, like if they don't play mime, which a lot of cups I don't think are doing right now, which I think is a huge mistake, like Tord said, it just runs train. You just go spread, like one snipe devolve, and like the game is over. Against like Guardy, Metagross, anything. Like the fact that Jose can beat Metagross with a deck, and this deck is beating Metagross is just telling, because people just put Mime and Metagross even, and like you beat that matchup. Like Mime should be going into almost every deck moving towards London. And I think if you're not playing it, you're like making a huge. You're just setting yourself up to lose to like 2 weeks ago's meta.
Okay. Well, I assume when you say every deck, you don't mean every deck. Like,
yeah, I mean, yeah, like decks
Drampa maybe wouldn't play it, Volcanion, things like that. But right?
You could play it in Volcanion. You don't have to necessarily, but you could.
Say evolution decks then.
Okay.
Evolution, yeah.
All right. Well, I'm glad that you raised your hand because I felt like I was gonna have to talk about it, and I was gonna be a train wreck. So, thank you for that. Let's move on to Golisopod. Who loves the pod? Great. Let's move on. No, I was kidding. Tord, what do you think about Golisopod?
Always like the card. Dealing so much damage for one energy is awesome.
Yeah.
I like it with Zoroark. Never really liked it with Gardevoir because I felt it was so clunky, but I think it's okay with Zoroark. Still think it has some problems against Gardevoir though, so don't know if I want to play it.
Mm-hmm. If you mentioned Zoroark, would you be playing both so that you can reset the Golisopod and draw out of ends late game with the GX, or would you just be playing the GX?
You can play one baby as a tech, but like mainly you just use Guzma and Acerola every turn, so it's not really a problem. And Zoroark can make you draw 4 to 6 extra cards every turn, so it doesn't really, you can't really get end down to shit. So you should always play an Acerola or Guzma every turn. So I don't think it matters much. So you can play a Zoroark just to have the threat of knocking something out if they fill their bench.
So since you're playing Acerola, I guess you wouldn't play Mime in that. Is that right?
Yeah, I would definitely play Mime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, even with Acerolas, you should play Mime.
Okay, sounds good.
Go ahead. I'll chime in a little bit if you don't mind. I also agree with Tord. I think the deck is very good, but you still have overlaying problems with Guardy. Yeah. I think the variant that I would like to test more is the one that Zach Lesage did well with, the Gumshoes Octillery one.
Give it a Gumshoes chance.
Everyone's like, yeah.
I think Gumshoes. I don't know how good it is, but like in theory, it sounds really good to me. But like, I want to try it. Yeah, like I want to try it.
It's even fighting weak, guys.
that's one thing that's making me scared. But also, like, the new supporter Lusamine seems pretty good in that deck. Because, like, if you're playing, like, the 4 Acerola, 4 Guzma, which you should be, you can just go to 3 Acerola and play, like, 1 Lusamine.
Okay.
And you just grab, like, a Guzma and an Acerola back, which is
you can play 4 both and play Lusamine as well.
And you have 6 Guzmas, and your opponent has no idea what to do.
So talk to me about this deck, because I haven't heard of it, but you guys were all hype about it. Phinnegan, we haven't heard from you in a minute. Let me go to Phinnegan. What can you tell me about this?
It's just like Golisopod Octillery Gumshoes. I mean, that's
why?
That's the deck.
Why?
It's just like the most consistent way well, I guess that's probably not even true anymore. I honestly just think it's really cool. Like, I don't know if it's that good.
Why Gumshoes?
Gumshoes is the coolest card ever. Yeah, let somebody else.
Okay, right.
So Gumshoes, for 1 colorless energy, it's 10, I think, 10 plus 50 for every energy on the opposing Pokemon.
Okay.
So Guardy's answer against Golisopod, what they'll always tell you, like, well, if I just get 6 energy on a Guardy, then I win the game. Like, how do you beat that? Gumshoes. That's how you beat that.
Okay.
You give it a Gumshoes chance.
So that's not as bad as it sounds? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, and you got the whole 2 prizes. Wow. Shit.
And it takes 6 energy off the board. It's like, that's nice. It's, I don't know. It's a 1/1, so you won't always get it. And Gumshoes kind of sucks against everything else. but
yeah.
for 2 cards, it makes the Guardian matchup a lot better.
Okay.
I'm so curious toward like because it sounds like you're using Zoroark a lot. I was kind of thinking in this format, like, what do you find yourself discarding off of trade?
Mostly Sycamores. Sycamores and Ultra Balls.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
And Leles, because I play 4, of course.
Obviously. So what are the best cards coming out of Crimson Invasion? Well, let me say that. Not what are the best cards. What cards are going to be the most relevant coming out of Crimson Invasion or whatever that other one's called, Shining Legends, that we haven't mentioned yet? Rahul, why don't you start this one?
My ear got itchy. My hair is super long. I need to get a haircut. But I think Kartana is one that we haven't mentioned. I like the card. I just don't know if its place is now. Because I think Garb's still good, I guess. And fire weakness is obviously a huge problem. We haven't seen fire anywhere. Like in the past couple weeks, fire's just disappeared off the face of the earth. But that's not telling moving towards London. That means people are going to pick up decks like Metagross and Golisopod, and suddenly one guy could play Volcanion like Ryan here and just run through people. So you can never count out fire, and so I think Kartana's good, but it's not great. Taking the 1 prize, I think is really cheeky because you just eliminate that 7 prize game. Now playing against something like an evolution deck that plays Vulpix or knocking out an early Ralts can't punish you as much for going down to 1 on an end. You just go you have a Rainbow on a Kartana, you just bring it up, go out and win the game.
So is this in Metagross that people will be playing it?
Anything, literally anything that plays a Rainbow. I think Golisopod's probably the best partner to have it in.
Okay.
Just because in Golisopod you're often chasing things on the bench, and so you can afford to take a prize on an Octillery or a Mime or something like that, and then you just have a Rainbow on a Kartana and you just win the game. And I guess I think one of the cards, Shining Mew, I guess is something we haven't talked about either.
Yeah.
I think Shining Mew is something I want to try in Drampa-Garb, because in theory, I was talking with Azul and Brad about this, and it seems really good just for the mirror. If you play Shining Mew and they don't, you just win, right? You just get the Mew off turn 2, and you have so much energy on your board that your opponents are uh-oh. You get 2 Psychics on Drampas, and they're just crap. That's the only thing I see it being relevant in, but I think the card is good.
Yeah.
Not great, but good.
Okay. Tord, what cards do you like that we haven't mentioned yet?
What have we mentioned? Cortana's good, Mew is good, Zoroark is insane. Buzzwole is good. It's a really good card. Still don't know what's the best deck with Buzzwole is. Yeah, I really like Cortana. It's you can Ultra Ball for an Enhanced Hammer. It's pretty sick.
Yeah.
I know I can't remember the other cards. So if yeah.
All right, we'll come back to you on that. Think about if there's anything we miss.
Yeah.
Phinnegan, why don't you tell us what do you like?
Nihilego is one.
Is that the dark one?
No, it's
It's
poison.
the jellyfish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the poison confused.
And when you play it, okay? I don't know what it does.
So the ability is just when you play it down, both active Pokemon are poisoned and confused. So, the obvious drawback there is that your active Pokemon is poisoned and confused. But I think that there's a lot of ways around that. Well, actually, mostly just Floatstone. Something that's knocked out, you just promote something with Floatstone, Nihilego, and you just retreat. Problem solved. I think that card's really good. You can play it with Buzzwole, maybe. I just built this Darkrai GX Zoroark deck, which plays it, and it's insane in that deck, insane. And I just see that card having a lot of potential, and I feel like people aren't giving it a whole lot of credit right now. I don't really like it for either of the attacks. I just think the ability is really good.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know there's other stuff too. I actually have this article that I just wrote about new cards, but you can come back to me or something.
Okay. Allred, what you got?
We haven't talked about Gladion. Gladion's super cool. I don't think it really affects the meta much. It's just kind of mostly a consistency card. If you know your prizes, it's a computer search for anything that's in there. So it's good. I think most decks should play it, but I don't think it'll really affect meta.
Yeah.
Tone Map version 2. Right?
So we are definitely seeing that in London, right? If it's a second town map. What about? There was some other car. Oh, what about Sil Valley, or however you say that?
Not good.
Not good.
Not
Not
yet.
good.
But
Not
it's,
yet.
it's almost Mega Man Electric. Okay.
The 3 energy cost kills it.
Yeah, it's 2
Yeah.
attachment.
Mega Man Netric wasn't honestly that insane either. Like, I don't know. I think that was only really good for a couple tournaments at one point. I don't think Mega Man. I don't know. I think people remember that card being better than it was.
It wasn't
So that
hard
was
to
very
play, which is why I did okay with it.
Yeah. It was like just good enough to do well at like one for like a month maybe.
Early
Like that.
Early that season when you could play it with Ridge Ice, like at the very beginning, it was good.
Yeah, and there was that one Nats where like I think literally like every top player rolled up with like some Mega Man Electric pairing, and it was just like, well,
Yeah.
you either had a way to beat it or they're gonna make day 2. But like we also saw the fact that none of them went super deep. It was Grant that like made it pretty deep, and that's because he had the Empoleon pairing that was just something just people overlooked, I guess.
That's very Grant. Okay, so let's get back to decks. What about Volcanion or Ho-Oh-Salazzle? Which one's better? And it's Volcanion, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so how good is Volcanion for London?
It's bad. Like you can get the deck close-ish against Guardy, like not very close, but like good enough that if you play against someone bad, you can beat it. That's favorable there. But so when it was like you'll probably play like 1 or 2 Guardies in a tournament, it was like, all right, that's fine. Like I can beat them if they're bad, and if they're good, that'll be my one loss. But now like a third of the meta is Guardy, so like you get rolled over too much. I don't know. I played at everything, and it got me to day 2. But then as soon as I was in day 2 playing nonstop Guardy good players, I was just losing every time.
Okay, that dog is hype. Okay, so we got Volcanion. So you guys agree on Volcanion? It's not the play.
Yeah, I think it's risky because before I think when we played it in Hartford, the reason we made the decision to play it in Hartford as like a lot of collective good players was because the Guardy list at the time didn't really have an answer to Volcanion. Like the 2 enhanced hammers seemed like enough to make it a 50-50, which I think was still wrong, but we had some good optimism in there. And we went in. And it worked out for some of us, and for some of us it didn't. So, and then the optimal Guardy list, I think it's just so hard to beat if they just land the parallel. And if you're dedicating more cards to hit the blower, like you're not actually going to get the blower that often. Like Volcanion still bricks. You need the bench space. It's one of those decks where now in this format you need the bench space.
Okay.
And so, I lost my win into Hartford purely because my opponent would go turn 1 parallel, and I'm like, man, I really wish I can find my 1 blower. So I think Volk is bad. And like Ho-Oh-Salazzle just isn't a real deck. Like
Okay.
we should just ignore that.
We're done with that. It's gone. Anyone else on Volcanion?
I love the deck.
Okay, but it's bad.
I think it's just not going to work. But it's probably my favorite deck to play in this format actually. But yeah, it's not going to work.
Okay. Well, a couple more. I want to talk actually about a deck that I think is decently positioned right now, and you guys can all tell me I'm wrong. Solgaleo.
Like as a deck itself, or
Yeah,
attack?
as a deck itself.
Well, what does it beat?
Yeah. What does it beat?
Guardy.
Yeah,
But like Metagross does the same thing but better.
barely.
It beats Metagross. In Golisopod. Because it one-shots Metagross.
I don't agree with the Golisopod now that Golisopod has more consistency cards,
Okay.
and they can just
I'll concede that.
chase down everything. Yeah.
I'll concede that. But it does beat Metagross, and I love the deck, okay? All right, so...
I guess you play at it?
What?
You have
You
to play
play
Meteor,
Meteor?
right?
Yeah,
Yes,
otherwise
yes,
they
yes,
just all
yes,
beat
yes.
and lose.
Yes, you have to play
Or
Meteor
they
in
just
it.
fleet you.
Yeah,
It's game.
or you
If
lose.
you
the
struggle
fleet.
against Garb,
Yeah, Garb seems
Greninja.
rough.
Volcanion,
Garb's not
Dex the damage
too
real.
bad because you have Psychic Resistance and 250 HP. But you have to play like 3 blowers. Anyways,
Yeah.
okay, it's bad. I just love that deck. Okay, so Metagross. Let's talk Metagross. With Volcanion out of the picture, it has a good Drampa matchup. It has a solid Gardevoir matchup.
It doesn't have a good Drampa matchup.
Doesn't have a good Drampa matchup now.
Oh, okay. Why is that?
Because you have to play the Mime to even have a shot, I think, because they can. Any of Drampa's spread cards in the Devolve package is still in the Po Towns. It's just so annoying. Having to waste like max potions on like taking like 60 damage on like a Metagross is just annoying. And sure, the Garbodor is like not relevant in the matchup as much, but like the small damage adds up, and then they just go one big Devolve. And even if you have Magearna up, like eventually they'll just keep locking you, and like if you're getting one attack off every 2 turns, your active is taking damage, and so getting energies back on your board is so tough.
Okay.
I feel you have to play 4 Guzma, 4 Field Blowers, and then you're not even 50-50, you're still losing, like most of the times.
Okay.
And if you have to take so hard and still lose, I don't think you have a good matchup.
That sounds reasonable. Usually when I'm trying to argue a matchup, and I start saying, well, you go first, and I'm like, okay, it's not a good matchup. So any other thoughts on Metagross?
I think people kind. Sorry, you can go.
No. You haven't talked to him.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just gonna say, I think people have this idea that like you can just play any stage 2 deck now because Gardevoir and Greninja are like top tier decks, but those have like very specific reasons for them being more consistent. Greninja debatably doesn't have a more reason to be more
It's just
consistent.
so good.
But I mean, you have a lot of bits. But yeah, Gardevoir's got like Octillery and Sylveon to add consistency, right? And then Metagross is just like, I've got 1 Vulpix, and that's kind of what you got. So I just don't think it's consistent enough. And yeah,
Mark's
it's not going to work.
champ off the list of things to talk about. All right. Any other decks? I feel like we've actually hit most of the meta. Are there any other decks that we should be looking out for in London?
Nothing really. I mean, there's like the potential for like, obviously we've got the few people in Europe who are well known that really like Xerneas Break, so there's that. But I think Xerneas Break is a very inconsistent deck, and it struggles to close out games.
And it loses to Gardevoir.
Yes, yes it does. They just go parallel, yeah, and the game's over.
Yep.
There could be lightning type variants just based on the lightning support we kind of get, but I don't think I don't know what could be good yet. Like I haven't put any time into Raichu just because Buzzwole is a card.
There will be Raichu, I'm sure.
Yeah, there's gonna be the Raikou. Obviously, we have like it's the baby Evital of lightning types, and Tapu Koko GX is pretty good, but that's all I got.
Okay. Anyone else?
It's a bad Darkrai deck for sure.
Yeah, it's a bad Darkrai deck. Yeah.
What about Darkrai? I mean, with Zoroark being able to discard stuff and add consistency, it's still bad, right?
Which Darkrai?
Both. Like a EX list, but both.
I don't see Darkrai Dark Pulse. I don't see the Dark Pulse one working, but I'm not sure if I'm going to London, which is a terrible thing to say right now. But if I'm going to London, my top pick is Darkrai GX with Zoroark. So I think that deck is crazy.
Okay.
Is that with Nihilego?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think that's cool. I think I saw your article.
I mean, it's kind of just what it sounds like. You have sort of the idea that, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Daniel Attavilla and Zach Lesage, they were playing this deck in Expanded that doesn't play Dark Pulse Darkrai, it just plays the Night Sphere one and Darkrai GX.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of functions like that if you're familiar with it, but you take like 2 prizes with a Dead End, you take like 2 prizes on a Lele with a Choice Band and a Reverse Valley, and then you either 2-shot something or take 2 knockouts on a non-EX or 2 non-EXs. It's just super consistent because trade works super well with the GX because you just discard a Dark and then Restoration to get the Darkrai with the Dark back, or discard the Darkrai and Restoration. So they have a lot of synergy there. And then Nihilego obviously works really well with Dead End.
Right.
I don't know. It's just really consistent. Hit hard. Yeah.
Sounds
I think
good.
it's good, but how do you beat Gardevoir or Gallade more
Or Buzzwole.
specifically? How?
Yeah.
Do you fold?
No, you don't fold.
Early lunch?
Gardevoir, what I like to do is, so I always dead end the first Gardevoir that they send up there, and then I do it with like a Fury Belt, and the deck is really aggressive. So like, what'll happen a lot of the time is they'll miss the return knockout. If they don't, then things are a little bit tougher. But if they miss the return knockout, I pretty much win the game every time after that. Like they really don't have a good enough response a lot of the time. Gallade is a little bit of a problem, but you can definitely deal with that just because you go Fury Belt, Reverse Valley, or Reverse Valley Nihilego, or Nihilego and Fury Belt. So you can one-shot that pretty easily, and it's okay because you're fine just taking...
Guys.
What's that?
How many Nihilego do you even play? Sounds like more than one.
Ryan, what was that?
3.
Oh, battery's dying.
3.
Bye,
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
fair.
We're about finished anyways.
I also think like, how do you answer a parallel plea though? Because they can just go like, they can go Guzma, parallel, and just like get rid of like your big threats, and suddenly you're left with a naked board, and Guardy has time to set up again.
Yeah, I haven't really seen anybody try to go for that. I mean, it doesn't really hurt that bad if they parallel you because you just bump off like Nihilego or Lele, so that's not a big deal. And if they plea up like a Darkrai with an energy or 2 on it, you usually aren't in too much of a hard position off that because you can just Restoration and Elixir, Restoration and attach. Like the deck is really consistent and it sets up Darkrai's like just like that. So it's not really a big problem. I think if they're gonna go for that play. I think we lost Ryan.
Yeah.
RIP Ryan.
I think we're all gonna get shifted around. It's gonna look really terrible in a minute, and we sort of got through all the decks. So, oh, there it goes. I'm gonna cut shout outs out of this, I guess. It looks really, really bad. Thank you guys so much for your time. This has actually been one of the most fun I've had recording a meta forecast. Really appreciate you guys coming out, and hopefully this helps everybody get ready for London. Bye.
See you guys there.